Okay, all right. Well, welcome to tonight's Tree Cafe, and I'm going to pass this over to my co-host Autumn to talk a little bit more about the program. First, we're going to do welcome and then our announcements from Autumn with IERCD and the Climate Action Corps. She'll talk about that. And then, oh, this is not updated. And we're going to do something about chill hours and then take questions if you have them. And if you're joining to ask questions about trees and you have a specific question, go ahead and throw that in the chat and we'll get ready to answer that. But with that, Autumn, I'll pass it over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Autumn. I work for the Inland Empire Resource Conservation District, and today I'm representing the California Climate Action Corps project that we have going on. It's basically a project focused on increasing the tree canopy in North Redlands, Highland, and San Bernardino. You can go to the next slide. So this project was launched in 2020, and it's basically a project aimed at helping communities that are impacted the most against climate change. So the Climate Action Corps fellows who aren't here today, but that's Joseph and Ariana, are our fellows at IERCD. Are working on these tree giveaways and tree plantings in the local community to increase the amount of urban canopy, especially in communities that have low tree cover and are designated as disadvantaged. Next slide. So the trees that we've selected as part of this project are trees that are specifically adapted to the climate here and adapted to be able to withstand the effects of climate change, like drought, increased heat during the summer and during other seasons. So the ones that we've selected are supposed to be able to survive those things. So we have the list here on the side, and if you're interested in seeing more of that, you can ask us for the document. So we've been working on these tree giveaways and tree plantings, and so far we've planted and given away over 400 trees, which was above our goal. And we've gotten to connect with a lot of community gardens and schools and just people in the area. It's really nice driving around, and sometimes I see the trees in people's yards and I'm like, oh, I know that was from one of our giveaways. So it's really nice. So trees are important. Any tree can help limit air pollution by taking in CO2, but fruit trees especially offer that added benefit of providing a food source. So this is important in areas that don't have access to fresh food deserts, and they offer other benefits like lowering electricity bills, increasing property value, and can benefit health in other ways too. So this is a map of the urban canopy coverage in kind of the IE area. And then the next slide shows the effects of the urban heat island effect, which really affects the Inland Empire because we're kind of in this, really increasingly industrialized area with lots of warehouses and concrete buildings that just reflect and increase the heat in the area. So if you're interested in getting a free tree, you can go to our website. I'll put it in the chat as well, iercd.org/climatecorps. And you can follow our social media on Instagram at Inland Empire RCD.
Thank you, Autumn. All right, well, with that, oh shoot, I normally have a slide about who master gardeners are. And I guess it's not in here. I'm going to leave up this information about getting a free tree while I briefly tell you who we are. And we're so excited to partner with the Inland Empire Resource Conservation District and the Climate Action Corps to help get these trees out. Is this the second year, Autumn? I think this is the second year. It's not the third year. I think it must be the second year that we've worked on this project together. Is that
I
right?
think so.
Yeah, and last year we got a pretty equal number to this year of shade trees out. And so we're just really excited to get these trees out. So I am joining you from the Master Gardener Program of San Bernardino County, and we're with the University of California. So we partner with IERCD, or the Inland Empire Resource Conservation District, but we're actually part of the University of California. We're not with any particular university like Riverside or LA or Davis. We're part of a separate division, the Agriculture and Natural Resources Division. And each county has a Master Gardener program under the Agriculture and Natural Resources Division, where we get peer-reviewed research out to the public on a wide variety of gardening topics. And in our county, we like to focus on growing food, sustainable landscaping, and better living through gardening. In our county, we also have a Master Food Preserver program that is part of the same University of California Cooperative Extension, they call it. 4-H is a program that we also have in our office, and there we have a nutrition program, FNEP, and advisors. And one of our advisors, an environmental horticultural advisor, Janet Harton, has worked really extensively with this project and is also worked on creating these lists of trees that have done really well in the area. If you'd like to learn more about the shade trees that are part of this project, then if you go to our YouTube channel, then you can see a recording that we did 2 weeks ago, and Janet Harton was featured, and she was talking about these trees that are part of this study that are picked for the Inland Empire. So tonight we're going to focus on chilling requirements, or chill hours, for the fruit trees. So if you are joining for a question for a shade tree, we are here these are our sort of our tree cafe or tree office hours. We are happy to take a moment and answer a question if your questions aren't related to fruit trees, and you just have like a shade tree question, or you have a question about watering. Feel free to put that in the chat or unmute yourself, and we can pause tonight's talk and then continue with the fruit trees. If you have questions about fruit trees, or you're here to learn more about chill hours, then we'll talk about that for a few minutes. So I don't see anything in the chat, and I don't hear anybody unmuting. So I'm going to keep going with chill hours. In 2 weeks, we'll be back again to answer your questions. And in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about preparing your young trees, either fruit or ornamental trees, for the summer's heat, since this will be for your newly planted trees, their first year in the ground. But back to chilling hours, or chill hours. So, it's hot outside and we're not really thinking about chill hours, but chill hours are a key component to getting fruit out of your fruit tree. Now, I do want to add at the beginning of this presentation that a lot of research has been put into chill hours over the many decades, and not all of the research comes to the same conclusions, and people have different ways of looking at chill hours. In general, chill hours are the number of hours needed by a specific variety of fruit tree below below 45 degrees required between November 1st and February 15th for a good fruit set. So if you have a peach tree or an apple tree or a plum tree, then it needs a certain amount of hours below a certain temperature to have a good fruit production. The lack of chill hours can cause a death of the buds, extended bloom time, and poor fruit set. An extended bloom time increases the time that pathogens may enter the flowers and affect those newly forming fruits. So I've had people say, oh, there's new research that chill hours aren't required for fruit production. And to those kind of comments, my response usually is, well, I always like to see the research. But my response usually is that just because a fruit tree needs a certain number of chill hours, it doesn't mean you won't get any fruit production if they don't get those chill hours. So a cherry is a great example, or a pear. Cherries and pears most varieties need quite a few chill hours. And if you grow them in the Inland Empire, then it just doesn't get cold enough usually. And so you may get cherries set on the tree, but you're not going to get like a good crop. So it is possible to grow a fruit tree that is sort of, I guess I want to say, out of place and needing more chill hours than it gets. It doesn't mean you're never going to get fruit. It just means your fruit set is going to be significantly less. The other thing I like to add is that there's a lot of companies or researchers and nursery organizations that work on creating low chill hour varieties. So kiwis are a great example. Kiwis are not a fruit tree, but they still need chill hours. And so kiwis have been something that's kind of been off the table in Southern California for a long time. But several nurseries and researchers have worked together to create low chill hour varieties. And basically, I think, to summarize it very briefly, what they do is they just breed trees for desirable characteristics and sort of breed in certain genetics and breed out certain genetics through hybridization. So just like we have done with corn and bananas and many other things over the centuries, we modify things, trees and plants to meet our needs. And so sometimes a variety that might not have done well here before, like a kiwi, maybe now there is a low chill hour variety. It doesn't mean that they don't need those chill hours. It just means that the requirement is lowered. So again, the definition of chill hours is the number of hours needed by a fruit tree variety or species below 45 degrees between approximately November 1st and February 15th. There's a little bit of flexibility in this. Some of the charts or some of the research says November 1st to February 30th. Our fruit trees are not out there with a calendar ticking off the days and saying, oh, it's February 16th. This chill hour is not going to count. But what that time frame corresponds to is daylight hours and other factors where the tree is going into and coming out of dormancy. So as the tree goes into dormancy, then the chill hours are starting to impact the chemistry, which is helping to create fruit set. And as you get towards February 15th, we all know, if we have fruit trees, that, it always seems like one day there's no leaves, and then the next day there's like little green fuzz. All the leaves have like popped out, or the buds have popped out. I always notice on the pomegranate, one day I come home and it just looks like it has like a little green fuzz on it because all the leaves have popped. Or all the blossoms start to swell and you can see them coming out. And so February 15th, or did I say February 30th? If I did, I apologize. It's the end of the day, but the end of February, sometime between that 2-week period around the end of February, the trees start to, the buds are swelling and they're starting to leaf out, and the flowers are opening. And then the chill hours become more harmful than helpful. So if you were to get hours below 45 degrees mid-March, then those hours can be damaging of the flowers or the pollinator activity needed to set that fruit, especially if we get like cold weather and maybe a wind or something, that a lot of times we'll lose the flowers. So the other thing to note, so the dates are a little bit flexible, but it's about from November 1st to either February 15th or 28th, 29th, and within that window. And then the other thing is that generally for the Inland Empire, we say the number of hours below 45 degrees. But just like the time or when we get the cold impacts the tree. So if we were to get temperatures below 45 in early October or late September, which I don't remember it ever happening in September, but if we were to get really cold weather that early, that's before the tree goes into dormancy, and it can damage that new growth on the fruit trees. So I do want to point out, and I'll go back to the 45 hours. I do want to point out that this does not apply to subtropical trees. So we are talking about stone fruit, the fruit with the pit in the center, or a palm fruit, which is The one generally, if you cut it crosswise, it has a star-shaped seed pattern. So like apples and pears, for example. So those, the deciduous fruit trees are the ones that require chill hours. Subtropical fruit trees are things like avocados and citrus, and also things like bananas and papayas and stuff like that. They do not need chill hours, and those are harmful. So we can grow those subtropical trees in Southern California. We're sort of a Mediterranean climate, and a little bit up the Central Valley, and some areas a little bit north. But the subtropical trees are not looking for chill hours. They're just sort of tolerating the chill hours. So nothing I say tonight has any reference to citrus trees or avocado trees. Those are the most common ones. What is included in this, which I didn't know till a couple of years ago, is blueberries. Blueberries need chill hours, and I was really surprised to learn that. And then when I started paying more attention to tags for blueberries at the store, or the garden center, I was noticing how many blueberries they were selling that needed 700 to 800 chill hours, which is not something I would get in my area. So we'll continue this conversation. But so again, not talking about citrus, not talking about bananas or avocados. Those trees, those are not deciduous. They don't lose the leaves. And so any of that cold weather in the winter is harmful. If you're old enough or from Southern California, you remember when they used to smudge, and that was because the citrus, it's because it's not deciduous, then that cold weather damages the leaves and everything. So in the Inland Empire, we focus on below 45 degrees, but it's actually below 45 degrees and above 32 degrees, because if it gets too cold, it doesn't trigger the same sort of benefits that the temperatures between 32, between freezing and 45. The trees can still tolerate, a lot of trees can still tolerate that sub-freezing temperature to a degree, but the chill hours are calculated between 32 and 45 degrees. In the Inland Empire, the distinction is not as important, and I'll show you when we look at the website. And again, a lack of chill hours leads to death of buds, extended bloom time, and poor fruit set overall. Doesn't mean you're not going to get any fruit. No. Doesn't mean that, like the tree won't grow. No, the tree will still grow. So like I actually just bought the wrong kind of green gauge plum, and it needs 600 to 700 chill hours. The tree will grow probably just fine. It might be a little bit more susceptible to diseases, but most likely the tree will grow fine. I'm just probably not going to get a lot of fruit, and I just know that. And so I'm going to plant it anyway, but it's really going to end up being more ornamental than anything else, most likely. So our go-to with the Master Gardener program is this website from the University of California and UC Davis, the Fruit and Nut Research and Information Center. This is a great website. The old website used to look like this. The new website looks like this. In just a moment, I'm going to go through a few more slides, and in just a moment, we'll take a look at the live website. This is the new look of the website. If you're familiar with this website, you can now pick from an actual map. Before, there was a list of weather stations. So there's weather stations throughout the state of California, and we try to pick one nearest to us. Unfortunately, in the Inland Empire, we need to choose between Pomona and Riverside, and I'm not quite Pomona or Riverside, but this gives me a good approximation. We also have a couple in the mountains and a few in the high desert. So this is when you're selecting a station, this is what that page will look like. And then when you select a station, it gives you something like this. So when I pulled this up, and this would have been in April, then we had 507 hours. And we're going to talk more about this when we're looking at the actual website. I like to look at the real-time data. So you can get a graph that has multiple years in it, and you can compare, 2016 to 2021, for example. And we're going to talk more about where these bars level off and all of that in just a second. So here you'll notice on the chart that you have a choice to look at hours below 45 degrees, and here in the upper left, or you can see it here in the sort of middle right, the chart, or you can look at hours between 32 and 45. I think it's interesting. In the Inland Empire, it doesn't make that much of a difference. You'll see here in Victorville that the hours below 45 were 1,173, but the hours between 32 and 45 were 977. So there was a little bit of a difference between the beneficial chill hours, which would be this column here on the right-hand side. You look at Lake Arrowhead, and there's almost 1,000-hour difference, or 900-hour difference between the beneficial ones and the ones that are just sort of there. And then in the high desert, there's about 100 hours difference. So we'll look at the live chart in just a moment. This is our total for the year. So if you remember back to the beginning, and we said it was from November 1st to February 15th or February 28th or 29th, then we are now in May. And so we have gotten all of the chill hours for the year that we're going to have. So if you look at it this way, those fruit trees, the deciduous fruit trees went dormant in the fall. And then starting on about November 1st, then the hours below 45 in the Inland Empire started triggering chemistry within the tree to have a good fruit set and to shorten the bloom time to, well, I wouldn't say shorten the bloom time, but keep the bloom time an appropriate length to keep the pests down and to form those buds. And so these are our totals. If you look at the Pomona station, our number, and if you can remember back to the previous page, the two columns represent this column on the left is hours below 45, and this column on the right is hours below 45 but above 32. Disregard this part of the slide over here. This was from the previous month and showed how many hours we got within about a 6-week period. So just focus here. I'll annotate this. I apologize. This slide is a little bit chaotic. So just focus on the part here in red. And for Pomona, we got 380 hours this season. So remember that 380. If you live, for example, in like Lake Arrowhead, you got about 707 hours. So for Lake Arrowhead, you got 1,200 hours below 45, but about 400 of those or 500 of those hours were below 32 as well. So the 700 number is the number we're going to remember for Lake Arrowhead. For Victorville, they had 580. So we're going to remember that 580, and we're going to remember 380 for the Inland Empire. So remember, Inland Empire, we had a total of 380. For Lake Arrowhead, we had a total of 700. And for Victorville, we had a total of 580 chill hours that were positively impacting the tree. And so it was a warm year. And I'll show you where we're at with that. So 380, 580, 707. We're going to look at these models and let's see. Riverside, well, we're going to look at the models live. So before you guys forget those numbers, so remember Pomona was 380 and I already forgot. Arrowhead was 700 and Victorville was 580. Was that right? Something like that. So these are the chill hours for most of the varieties. So at 380, we could grow a few varieties of almonds. Apples are going to have poor production if they needed more chill hours like they traditionally do. The low chill hour varieties need about 400 to 600. Note in Pomona, we only got 380. So a little bit less chill hours than we need for a good crop. Will we still get fruit? Yes. Will it be as good of a crop as if it was colder? Not so much. Apricots, we got 380. So we're okay here in the Inland Empire. Cherries, nowhere near, but they have low chill hour cherry varieties. The fig is at 100 chill hours, plenty of chill hours with 380. For the figs, our peaches and nectarines are 500 to 800. Peach and nectarine production might be a little bit low this year. Pears, if it wasn't a low chill hour variety, nowhere near the hours needed to make a good pear. The Asian pears need 350 to 450. Pecans need 250. The persimmons, 100 to 200. That's why almost every year we have a good persimmon and a good fig crop. Pistachios need 800. Plums, European ones need 600 to 800. The Japanese, 700 to 800. The plums, the peaches and nectarines, and the apples, which traditionally we haven't had quite enough chill hours for. They have a lot of low chill hour varieties that only need like 250 to 350 chill hours. And I want to point out that another factor in, let's finish this here. So pomegranates need only 100 to 150, and then walnuts need like 500 to 700. So you could see why pomegranates, persimmons, and figs always do well. They barely need over 150 chill hours. And then for these other ones, they're making more and more low chill hour varieties because in addition to, if we sort of remove global warming or climate change on an atmospheric level from this conversation, I think we have all experienced what Autumn was talking about earlier, which is the urban heat island effect, which is partially caused by reduced tree canopy, but also caused by the huge amount of asphalt and concrete that we're putting all over the place in, the form of warehouses and freeways and construction. So even if climate change on an atmospheric level was taken out of the equation in the Inland Empire, we are heating our environment by adding so many heat absorbing and reflective surfaces. So an apple tree that might have grown well here 50 years ago is going to be different than an apple tree that will grow well, in a newly added warehouse. So we really need to go for these low chill hour varieties, which is why it's so great that Climate Action Corps and IERCD can work with, horticultural advisors and researchers and master gardeners to find appropriate fits for our area. And the two biggest problems with growing deciduous fruit trees in the Inland Empire are planting the wrong variety that requires more chill hours than available and not having adequate pollination. So tonight we're not talking about pollination. It is important to know that some fruit trees like cherries and some plums and all of the fruit trees have varieties that are not self-fruitful, but a plant that's self-fruitful means it doesn't need another tree to make fruit. There's one that's going to be partially self-fruitful, meaning it will make its own fruit, but it will do better with a buddy, like a different variety of cherry or a different variety of avocado is one example that needs a pollinizer, another tree that will help it set fruit. And then there's other trees that just won't make fruit if another tree variety, like there's some peaches and pistachios, almonds that will, I don't know about pistachios, I meant to say almonds, that will need another variety of almond to make fruit. But we're not talking about pollination tonight, but those are the two biggest challenges that we have with growing fruit trees in the Inland Empire. And it is unfortunately getting more challenging because of all the urban heat island impacts that we're feeling from all of the construction. So I really appreciate that the Inland Empire Resource Conservation District and Climate Action Corps are choosing varieties through this program and in supporting the Tree Cafe and all of these different elements related to these tree giveaways, that they're choosing varieties that you guys will be successful with. So one thing to know, if you walked away with an IERCD and Climate Action Corps tree, it is a tree that is chosen and appropriate for this area. So I thank you guys for doing the work for us on that. I think now what I want to do is step into this website where we can just look real time at some chill hours. Again, this is what the website looks like. And so with that, I am going to just check my screen here and pull up the resource that I'm talking about. Make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Yep. Okay. So when I type it in, I usually just type in UC fruits and nuts. My computer knows me, it knows what I'm looking for, but it's fruitsandnuts.ucdavis.edu. And I'm going to put that link in the chat, but I'm also going to show you real quick before I forget. If you go to our website, the Master Gardener website, and you go under, and I'll put this link in the chat as well. If you go under recent presentations, then, and you go to resource sheets. So this is our website, Master Gardeners. I put the link in the chat. And if you go and click on recent presentations, there we go. So if you click on recent presentations here on the left, and then underneath there is something called resource sheets. Under the resource sheets, you'll see a fruit tree resource sheet for March. And this has my favorite fruit tree resources here listed in the middle. So I'll put this link in the chat, but you can also pull this up at any time on our website. Excuse me. So let's just drop this in the chat, but you can go to our website and find that. And so from there, and the first one up here, or the second one, is the fruits and nuts. And here's the chill hour calculator that we're going to look at. One of my favorite websites. They've upgraded. I'm still not used to the new look. Trying to be positive here. It's great. It is great, I'm sure. So we're going to go to we click on the weather related models up here in the upper left. We're going to go to the chilling accumulation models, and beyond the basic information, there's lots of stuff to explore. So, this is Highlands. Okay, I'm going to check this station here. So if you change the station, you can see all the stations are numbered. They're not in alphabetical order. They're in a numerical order that seems to be probably tied to when they were put in. So there's a lot of missing numbers here. So I want to let's look at Riverside first. Because if you're joining from the Inland Empire near maybe like Grand Terrace, for example, then Riverside would be the station that you might look at. So we're going to view that data. So what you see here, and here is the hours below 45 degrees. And so what you see here is they started recording it. You can see it's noted here up through October, but the starting date is usually like the 1st of November. And the chill hours started to accumulate in December. And you can see on December 21st and 22nd, or December 2nd, I'm sorry, there was 4 chill hours. You'll notice here in the center, when you're on the graph, trying to chase this little box here, that it tells you this is for the 21-22 growing year. So the fall of 2021 into the winter of 2022. And so through February 22nd, then, or 15th, or the end of February, you can see we got up to 300, and they called it on February, I guess they didn't call it. Here we are on the end of February, and we have 342 chill hours. Okay, so these are the hours between November and beginning of February. These are the chill hours, but you'll notice just because the chill hours, we don't count them, they're still collecting this data. They're just weather stations. They take the data and they do some compiling of it, but it's still collecting. And so these chill hours that we're accumulating, so if we were at 342 at the end of February, these chill hours that are here later aren't really having a positive impact on the fruit trees. So you can see we totaled at about 342 chill hours, not enough chill hours to grow a lot of the traditional varieties of fruit trees. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm going to include all of the past year data too. So with all of the past year data in there, let's just take a look here at some of what's happened in previous years. So you can see Riverside, on their best year was 2021, and they got 427 chill hours, still not even over 500. A lot of varieties we would have a hard time growing. If we go back to our sheet here, you can see that a lot of the varieties, about 3/4 or 2/3 of these, we would have a hard time growing, which is why we're so grateful that they're developing low chill hour varieties. Remember, I said that some of the blueberries that we often find need 700 to 800 chill hours. And so in Riverside, we never got over 500 chill hours, which is why blueberry production is going to be poor. You'll see some hours on the worst years that we've gotten as low as 200 chill hours. And that was it. You'll notice that in 2021, a lot of these chill hours were late March into April, and that might have had negative impacts on the fruit. And so let's go look at another station real quick. Let's see, got my old eyes and then we got everything. So let's change stations. Let's look up at Victorville. Let's view that data. I'm going to click in all of the years and we'll look at Victorville right away. If you look at the vertical axis, you can see it goes up to 1800. So totally different situation than we're in down here in the Inland Empire. So on a poor year at the end of February, we're looking at over 1,000 hours below 45. And then you can see that you continue to develop or accumulate like 400 chill hours on many of these years into the late spring, and that can have a negative impact on your fruiting. So then let us go to one other, to Pomona, and remember, if you can, remember what our chill hours were for Riverside. Pomona is going to be a little bit higher. So, and I'm almost, oh, it's 7 o'clock. Okay, I'm almost done, and we have a raffle at the end. So I'm almost done, don't go anywhere, and we have a raffle. I got talking about chill hours, I didn't realize how late it was. Okay, so here in Pomona, then you can see that we had, some years we've had up to 700, but usually we sit around 400 or 500. So that is the cool website. If you're interested in more details about the chill hours, then you can go to more of this information here, and they talk about the different models they have. The other place I wanted to show you really quickly, and then I'll turn it back over to Autumn. Again, I apologize for keeping you over time. I just got excited about chill hours. I'm not endorsing this company as a master gardener, but this is a great nursery that's worked with a lot of researchers to create low chill hour varieties. And if you go to their website and you click on for the home gardener, then you can get a lot of information about varieties, their taste, what time of year they're ripe, how many chill hours they need, do they need a pollinizer, another fruit tree to help them be productive. And with that, I will again apologize for taking us over time. And with that, I will pass it over to you, Autumn. And if we have any questions at the end, I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes. But we'll pass it over to Autumn so you guys can get along with your evening, and I can stay on for a few minutes for questions.
So I just want to give an announcement for our upcoming tree giveaway and planting this weekend on Saturday, May 7th, from 8 to 11 a.m. It's at the Seeds of Change Community Garden in San Bernardino. So if you're interested in getting a tree or helping out with the planting, or maybe just checking out this community garden, which I've never been to, so I'm excited to see it. The address is there, and we'll be there from 8 to 11. Now let me pick the raffle winner. Let's see. And I'm going to send out this survey as well. Here in the chat. So if you could just take some time to fill that out.
And if you guys, so while she's getting that ready, if you guys have any questions, we have a Master Gardener helpline. If you guys think of questions, where did this, right here. That also information can be found on our website. We'll be back in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, if you're not able to listen to the whole presentation, but you want to just pop on and ask a quick question, we're here to help you with those questions, and our Master Gardener helpline is also always here for you too.
So
All right, and Autumn, maybe I'm gonna stop the recording actually, but
Okay.
I will share that at our next workshop, we'll also have a raffle. And Autumn, can you remind people of what it is? So they should join our next workshop.
Yes, so if you stay till the end of our workshops, at the end we do a raffle and it's a $50 gift card to a nursery of your choice.
Pretty good deal. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. So thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you at our upcoming Tree Cafe